Hey guys, welcome back. Today on The Untidy Artist, I am doing a fairy doll hairstyle. This has to be my absolute favorite hairstyle I've ever done on a fairy doll. Today I'll be doing a tutorial on how to create space buns for your dolls. This is a hairstyle that in real life, my beautiful daughter Gabe wears in her hair all the time. I love it. I think it's really sweet and just so cute on fairy dolls. So let's grab some supplies and get started. Now, if you're new to making fairies, you'll want to check out my basic fairy doll tutorial, where I teach you how to take a wooden bead, a piece of floral wire, and some embroidery floss and twist it into this cute little doll. All of the links and everything I talk about in this tutorial will be in the description below. You can see I've already dressed my little doll. And now what we're going to do is style her hair. So we need a glue gun, and I have my trusty glue gun set on low. That's definitely important for this tutorial because it makes it easier to work with the glue, and then a sharp pair of scissors. Okay, step one, you've got your doll all twisted together. Now smooth out the hair. And I spend a lot of time smoothing out the hair. Then you're going to push the bead down, and in the back, you're going to put a small dab of glue at the top of her head so you're connecting the hair to the bead. And I kind of wipe off any excess. I hold it in place until it sets, and then you flip her to the front and you can see her head is now going to stay in place. Now what I'm going to do is smooth the hair out again and part it. Okay, on this part, you can do a couple different things. I used to just part it right along the floral wire. It makes it really easy because it gives you a nice even part. I like kind of parting it off side a little bit, so it gives her more of a side part. And then the trick is trying to get those two sides of her hair even. So we're going to split the hair in half. Once again, if you do it right along the line of the floral wire, you're going to get it even on both sides. Otherwise, you're going to kind of either have to count the thread on each side or kind of eyeball it to make sure that you've got it separated. Now you're going to want to refer to my high pigtail hairstyle tutorial, where I go through exactly how I wrap the hair up and around to create two high pigtails. That video will be linked below. And then I tie those off, and I take a small dab of glue and just add it to each knot to make sure that that doesn't come undone. And then you're going to trim off those little pieces that we used to tie the hair. So basically, if you follow the high pigtail tutorial up until this point, you're ready to go. So I slow down those steps a lot more in the high pigtail tutorial. So I'm trimming off that excess. And now what we're going to do is pick which side we're going to start with, and we're going to smooth the thread out. So I've got it smoothed out on both sides. We're going to work with whatever side you decide to work with. Smooth it out, and then split it in half. So you can see on the left there, I've got it split in half. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take each of those pieces and twist them towards her face. So I'm twisting them to the right. We're twisting them toward her face. And then you're going to twist them together in the opposite direction. So I twisted them together, or I twisted them singly forward, and now I'm going to twist them together back. And once you get the hang of this, you can kind of twist them as you're twisting it together, if that makes sense. But to get it started, I always start twisting them individually, and then you can see you can just twist them as you go. This is called a rope braid. So twisting them both to the front and then twisting them together in the opposite direction. Then I'm actually just going to take some glue and put a small dab of glue at the end of her hair. You could tie it off, but I just find this is easier. Plus, we're going to be cutting some of that off. So it just seems to work really well if you take some glue and just pinch it together and hold it in place. And you can see we have our first twisted rope braid on that side. Then we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So I'm going to smooth out the thread. I'm going to split it in two. I'm going to twist them towards her face, so towards the front. And what I would recommend is, I actually have used a clipboard before where I clip her feet into it to hold her in place, or some tape, or even just stick your scissors on her. So I twisted both of them towards her face. Now I'm twisting them together in the opposite direction. Now, You can see I've got one side twisted tighter than the other side. My daughter reminded me that these are supposed to be sisters, not twins. So don't worry if both of your twisted rope braids aren't exactly the same. The buns aren't going to be exactly the same either. But we want to kind of go for the messy bun look, so they're not supposed to be exactly the same on both sides. So you can see I've got a rope braid on each side. Now the goal with this is we're going to loop it around, creating a bun. So just to kind of get an idea of how it's going to look, I wrap that around, and once I've kind of got it situated where I want it, I'm going to put a small dab of glue to just tack it into place. Now, I would recommend using just a tiny bit of glue on this part. You're not completely holding the bun down. I used a little bit too much there because you want to be able to slip the ends under the bun so we can hide those scraggly ends. So I've twisted it around. Now I'm going to take the end and kind of figure out how much I'm going to need to cut off. And I always flip her to the front, kind of arrange the bun. So once I've got that pretty much figured out, I'm going to trim off the excess of the hair. Before I do that, I always add another dab of glue. I wait for it to kind of cool down a second, and then I just pinch it together. That's why it's so important to work with a glue gun that is on a low setting. Then I'm going to put another dab of glue underneath and just tuck those ends under to create the bun. And if you have a little bit of the scraggly part poking out, you can just trim that off. Also, if you don't get it perfect, you can also always use a hairdryer to kind of loosen up that glue so you can tuck the bun under a little bit better and tuck those ends under so that they're hidden. And we have one of our space buns finished. So then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I wrap it around towards the back. I'm going to take a small dab of glue, kind of tack it into place, arrange it, make sure it looks good. And this is where I kind of start making them try and match, so at least they're kind of even. They're not going to be exactly the same. Remember, they're sisters, not twins. And then you're going to cut off the ends. One thing I'll do is even cut it in kind of a V, so it gives me a little point that I'm able to stick underneath her bun to hide those ends. So I'm taking that, I'm tucking it under with a small dab of glue and just making sure that those scraggly ends are hidden. And then this is the point where I flip her to the front and kind of start playing with those buns a little bit to make sure that they're sitting kind of evenly on her head. And I just think this is the most darling hairstyle ever. Obviously, it reminds me of Princess Leia, who I think is amazing. And this is just such a fun hairstyle for fairy dolls. It's kind of sassy, super sweet. And then I went ahead and dressed my doll. I found this beautiful pink sparkly flower at Michael's craft store. It is one of their seasonal Christmas flowers. So if this is something you want, I'd grab it right now before it's gone. And you'll want to refer back to my basic fairy doll tutorial where I go through exactly how I dress my dolls. And then I took these little bling stickers and I'm going to decorate just around her waist, and then I put one behind each bun just to add a little bit more to those little space buns that we just created. And I think she turned out so sweet. I think she'd be a really cute ballerina. She's just so cute and sparkly and sweet. And I always say this, but she might be one of my favorite fairy dolls. You can see here's that same hairstyle I put on one of my angels. With this, I added a strand of gold thread before I twisted the rope braids to kind of give this little bling to the buns. And then here is a sneak peek of the November Fairy of the Month. So you can look forward to that video later today. I will post all of the links below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please post those below. If there are other hairstyles you'd like to see, please let me know. I've been thinking about possibly doing a rope braid tutorial where I break that down a lot slower. Let me know below if that's something you want to see. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. That would be amazing. And if you enjoyed this tutorial, give it a thumbs up. You guys are awesome. I love to see your creations. You can share your fairy dolls with the hashtag untidyartistfairydoll on Instagram. And with that said, you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time.